Mr. Kit Harington, it's good to see you, man.
You as well.
You know what's funny? Like I was thinking back to our past chats. We've never had a chat about. We never did a Game of Thrones chat. So I only talked to you about Testament of Youth, Xavier's film here. it's like Game of Thrones doesn't even exist. I talk about. This is what I want to say. I'm here for the real stuff, for the art. Yeah, Game of Thrones is great.
Yeah.
I'm here for the true breadth of your career.
I love that. You're a very rare interviewer who hasn't asked me about Thrones.
Oh,
You're more than welcome to.
No, but I was saying to you before, we're here at Tiff, one of my favorite places to view film, and I just saw your movie this afternoon, and I sat a couple rows behind you, and I was scared for you, because I can only imagine what that experience is for someone like you. And you were telling me that was your first time seeing Baby Ruby.
It's a rare thing that I will sit in an audience for a premiere of something I'm in, having not seen it in a dark room by myself.
That's bravery.
On my own. I request that. Like, it's my one sort of little thing that I request, is to be able to see something privately on my own, because it's a weirdly painful experience as an actor or a creative in the someone on screen to do that with a whole group of people.
Yeah.
But weirdly, with this movie and today, it didn't bother me at all, and it didn't bother me going into it. I was kind of quite chill about it.
And again, I said this to you before, and as I said to you, I would have said nothing if I didn't believe it. I really dug this movie. It's called Baby Ruby, and it's a challenging piece of material, because it really is kind of a bunch of different genres that somehow are all executed very well. In a nutshell, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, it's basically about a young couple having a child and the anxiety and horrors and neuroses that brings up. And clearly, and certainly I'm not going to go too personal, but I know you've talked about this. This is like obviously rings true to your own life, and it must have come, I would presume, after you became a parent.
Yeah, very hot on the heels of. I think this landed on my desk, and then I chatted with Bess about it, the director, about it, probably within the first month of being a parent. So right in the world that these two in the film find themselves in, I was in when reading this movie. And then by the time we came to shoot it, my boy was 4 or 5 months old. So I was sort of coming out of that very early stage of parenthood. And it really rung true to me. And I remember saying this to Bess, because I felt that what I was told I would feel, or what society requested that I feel, didn't ring true with what I actually felt.
Right.
And now I've got that year and a half in thing of, oh, parenthood's great, I love my child, all of that stuff, that I wouldn't have to be really careful with young parents now not to do that myself.
Right.
But in the early stages, it was a huge shock to the system. I didn't know what I felt about this little creature that had landed in my house. I knew I had to look after it, but it wasn't it.
Right.
It was a definite it, and I was, me and my wife, and I'm sure she wouldn't mind me saying this, felt that very, very strongly, that it was the trauma of it, the shock of it, was overriding any kind of early parental feelings we might feel.
Right, and there must also be that, I'm not a parent, but I can only imagine from what I know, of like just that insecurity almost of like, wait, am I allowed to feel this way? Like, I've been told my entire life, this is going to be the greatest experience of my life, sheer joy, and there is that.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of other things too.
I'm really careful now when I meet new parents. I kind of say, how you doing?
Yeah.
You doing okay? It's crazy, isn't it? It's quite, rather than, isn't it amazing? Which is what I want to say, being a parent of a slightly older child now. But I need to remember that I think any major change in your life, and there's no bigger major change than having a child, takes at least a year to reconfigure your brain and the synapses and everything. And it definitely does take that when raising a little one.
Would this film have been useful for you to see prior to becoming a dad?
Not directly prior, and I would. I
might have dissuaded you.
I do think there should be a warning on it for anyone who's pregnant.
Yes.
I think if you're thinking about having a child, by all means watch it. If you're pregnant, maybe wait till at least a year after you've given birth.
You're limiting your audience, but you're being very nice about it. That's another thing I love about this, and I know we share this, is we like kind of genre mashups or just really big swings. And this one it's a challenging one in that like, I think it plays, you can kind of like come at it in different ways because there's a lot of comedy there. I laughed a lot watching it. Like, what did it read to you? Like, was it presented to you as like, oh, this is a drama, this is a comedy, this is a thriller, or did they just send you the script and then you interpret it?
I like my movies like I like my music. Mm-hmm. I don't want to be able to fit it into a genre.
Right.
I want it to slip into the cracks of many different things. You know, and when I read something, I'm looking for that, I think. I'm looking for being a bit confused by it. Even if it's not perfect on the page, and that's not me saying this movie isn't, but even if I'm reading it and going, well, that's not great, but if it weirds me out and it's kooky and strange, and I can't work out whether it's a horror or a thriller or a comedy then I'm interested. And I think a lot of stuff I've done has been that. Even to I'm going to bring it up now, even Thrones, even though I didn't have the choice back then and it wasn't an offer and it was one of my first big jobs, I remember reading that and going, I have no idea what this is.
Right.
It's like a fantasy, but it's also a mob thing. I don't know. And
it's a swing. It's a big swing.
Yeah.
And that's what I always say. It's like I don't need doubles in my life. I don't need like, to use a baseball analogy. Like, I don't need like a kind of a safe movie. Go for it or don't go for it.
Exactly. Try. If it fails, fine. But if I
kind of admire the failures too, by the way.
We got to be able to fail.
Yeah.
And I thought this about Bess's script. I thought what I liked was I saw really weird comedy, dark comedy in it. And obviously it's kind of thriller, horror, genre vibes in there as well.
It also addresses kind of like this pressure to be a front-facing perfect person, to have it all together, right? Which, like, whether you're a parent or not, I feel like it's a very relatable thing right now, and especially, then there's a social media component of it all. And for anybody can relate to this, but for public figures especially, you've faced this where it's like, I'm sure, like you're human. You're dealing with real shit in your personal life, and then you have to go out in public and go on a red carpet and present to the world that everything's great. And is that something that you feel like you've had to kind of reckon with since fame has come to you, to kind of figure out like how honest to be about like the inner shit that you have to deal with because you're a human being?
I feel I'm pretty I'm a bit of an oversharer, but I'm pretty honest about stuff generally in interviews, I think. I just don't see the need to do it on a daily basis to the world on social media.
Right.
I don't see the need. I don't see what it gives me.
Yeah.
I don't see what it gives anyone else particularly.
It's empty calories, really bad calories.
Yeah, but I do see what it takes.
Yeah.
And having a child now, thinking about the world he's growing up in, and me and Rose are pretty anti-social media. I wouldn't say, each their own, fine, but as for us, we're not interested in it.
You're not working on Twitter, Instagram.
No, none of
good
it.
for you.
None of it.
You're more evolved than I am.
But I think some people have to be, and I think in your job you do. But I think I've avoided it. And this movie does talk about that. And you can see her attract. And by the way, Noemi Merlant in this.
Fantastic,
fantastic.
And I just saw her in Tar, by the way, too.
Yeah.
I mean, she's having a good run here.
She's great.
Yeah.
She's a phenomenal actor. Her eyes being dragged back to the screen.
Yes.
In this movie, even when she's trying to raise a child, dragged back to the screen. I think I relate to that. My phone is a huge component in my parenting now. It wants me to look at it and not my child. And that's kind of scary.
That is scary.
Or it wants me to look at it with my child.
What about in terms of looking at the phone for, it struck me watching the movie, like every parent must Google a strange theory or ailment or question. What's the strangest thing you've Googled in your early years as a parent?
I think something about snot sucking. Like when they get a cold, and no one tells you this, right? They get a cold and they've got a bunged up nose, and you've got to suck the snot out of their nose with these like little motorized things. And before they had those motorized things, you had to do it with a pipe. You had to suck the snot out of your child's nose.
Wow.
That was a weird Googling morning.
It's a revelation.
How to suck snot out of a child.
Does it have to only be for a child? Sometimes, like
I tried
could
it
use
on
some help.
myself.
Yeah.
I did. Yeah, of course you do.
Yeah.
Why, any psychopath wouldn't.
Can I come clean, by the way?
Sure.
In our past conversations,
Yeah.
I had never watched Game of Thrones in any of the times we had chatted, and I always felt so much stress. I felt the weight of the world on my shoulders.
We're coming clean about
it
stuff.
felt,
yeah.
it felt like a lot. Like I was like, I didn't want to say the wrong word. Do I say that I haven't seen
Yeah.
it? Do I fake it? And I tried to find a middle ground, and I guess we're okay.
You're absolutely fine with me not having watched.
No, but I have not watched it all. Is what I'm
Have
saying.
you? Okay.
I did.
All right.
It's a good show, but congrats. It's a
Thank
really good
you.
show.
Thank you. Yeah.
You should feel very proud.
I'm proud of it. I'm finally proud of it. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, here's my little Game of Thrones section, and don't
Sure.
worry, I won't berate you. But this potential spin-off kind of shocked the world and shocked me. I mean, obviously it's a hugely rewarding experience you had, but apparently this was initiated by you. Can you say like what? Like, is there unfinished business for you in this character? Is that what initiated this? Like, where's your head at in terms of trying to develop this?
The only thing I'll say about that is I know nothing about it.
Oh, come on. George is talking.
Sorry, George. Well, George.
George is allowed to talk. He can
George
say
is allowed
anything.
to talk. Yeah.
Would it be, in theory, interesting to assume that character one more time?
I would be talking in riddles if I go any further.
Okay, fair enough. How about this? The new series. Are you watching, or does that give you like PTSD to watch it?
Interestingly, I am, and I thought I would have PTSD about it, and I really didn't. And I watched it, because I was intrigued, but because Miguel is my friend, and I wanted to see what he'd done with it, and I had a real kind of palpable like fear of sitting down and watching it, and I felt emotional and felt strange, and seeing people in the costumes, and me not being involved, all in the lead up of the press felt odd. And then I watched it, and I was like, it's a different thing.
Yeah.
It's a different thing. It's a different show. It's different people, and I just felt overwhelming support for them, and really proud of what they'd done. Not that I should be proud because it's nothing to do with me, but I was proud for them. I think that they've done a really good show, and it's its own thing, and it's really hard to follow up a big show like that. And I think that they've nailed it and made it their own, and that's great.
I'm just saying, if this rumored spin-off ever happens, I know you're a big Friends fan. I just hope it's better than the Joey spin-off. That's all I'm saying.
Was there a Joey
You
spin-off?
don't remember the Joey spin-off?
No, I don't.
You've blocked it out. Yes, there was.
Oh, I must have blocked that out.
Yeah, so don't go the Joey route.
No.
You can do better. It wasn't Matt's fault. But
Yeah. Yeah.
where are we at on the Marvel front? Is there any, do you know more than when Eternals came out? Has the game plan changed? Do you know, I know you're not going to tell me what, but do you know the plan?
And this is true, I don't know much of what they're planning, and I hope to be involved in future stuff with that character, with Dane Whitman, and that he might go on and be the thing that everyone quotes at me in the street, but I honestly don't know. I don't know what their plans are. I know they're going into a kind of phase 5, and
You don't know if you're going to spend more time with Mahershala or Harry Styles. You don't know what the...
I don't know. I know that, obviously Mahershala's voice came in at the end of Eternals, but you just don't know where they'll take it. And really, and I mean this genuinely, and people never believe you when you say this, but they don't tell us much, really. And I think for good reason, because we'll be in an interview like this and we'll go and spill the beans.
I'll wear you down after a day of press and be like,
Yeah.
fine, Josh,
Yeah,
I'm in
fine,
Blade,
this
okay?
happened.
Is that what you wanted? Can I leave now?
Yeah.
Okay, you're telling me the truth. I'm holding you to this.
Absolutely, pinky promise, I swear.
Okay. Just looking forward, generally speaking, what's on the agenda? I know you just did some theater back home.
Yeah.
I'd love to see you do some theater in New York. I was just asking you about New York.
I'd love to, I'd love to go and do something in New York. The play I did isn't going to New York. It was a kind of one-off thing in London, and it was a dream for me playing Henry V, and I just loved that experience. I'm now looking for whatever the next play is. I don't like to spend more than 2 or 3 years away from being on stage if I can help it.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I don't know whether it will be in London or New York. Who knows? It gets harder and harder as your child grows up to spend lengthy periods of time away in another city. But you know, the right thing at the right time, maybe.
Where are you at right now? Like, are you actively looking for a certain type of experience, certain type of film or TV, or what?
I think I'm turning into that person.
Yeah.
I think I've lived for a while and just seeing what comes through the door. And and my friend has a saying of, the cavalry isn't coming. You know, I've always lived like, oh, something's gonna, you know, and I think actually the wise actor and the wise creative keeps their eyes on what's going on and looks for the right filmmaker to work with next, and that is what I'm starting to do. It's hard when you've got a toddler.
Yeah, I don't sympathize. I
You
understand.
get to the
though.
evening and you're like, I don't want to, because the other thing
And
is,
turn on a mindless show.
it's a little bit like being a chef, right? Chefs don't go home and cook themselves an amazing meal. Like, as an actor, like, I find it quite hard to sit down and watch something of an evening, because it's your free time and it feels like work. You have to dedicate time to do it, and that's what I'm doing as a working practice.
Just be careful, because soon enough the child will be old enough to start dominating your choices, and then you're watching a lot of Pixar is great, but that's going to be your life for the next 7 years.
Yeah, maybe.
I appreciate the time, man. Toronto's always a madhouse, and squeezing me into a busy schedule means a lot. The movie, I hope gets exposed to a big audience very soon, because it's a really challenging, but I was gonna say fun. It is kind of a fun piece of work.
It's kind of fun.
Yeah.
It's funny and fun, and I think that you could look at this and read its description and go, "Ooh, that's gonna be bleak," but you might miss something by doing that. Like there's some real humour in it.
Big swings always.
Yeah.
Go after the big ones.
Yeah,
You always do, man. Thanks for catching up today. I appreciate it.
Thank
man.
you. That was a great interview. Thank you very
buddy.
much.
Thanks always.